Thanks again for checking out my video. This is going to be a pretty quick review of a piece that I purchased some time ago from a company called Great Gurkha Kukri. If you saw my last video, I covered Torah blades. This is a different smithy, a gentleman by the name of Purna Darnal. If I remember correctly, I hope I didn't horribly mispronounce his name, is the proprietor, owner. Full disclosure, I have no special relationship with that smithy. The purchase was inspired by a review that was done by another sword enthusiast on a forum that some of you may be familiar with. That was a Kopis Falcata that he had commissioned with that shop. Greek Kopis, of course, for those who do not know, is a sword from Greek history from around likely the 4th, 5th, 6th centuries BC, somewhere in there, alternately known as a maqueta. The Falcata, of course, is the Spanish version of that. Do not know if there's connection between those two blade types. One would presume that there was trade between Greece and Spain at some point. There certainly were colonies there, and it might have been the inspiration for that. Regardless of that, these swords are very similar. They're also very similar to kukri in shape, and some have speculated that there was some connection between the creation of the kukri was inspired by swords carried by Alexander the Great's army when he pushed all the way to the Indus River. Whether or not that's was actually what happened, they are very similar in design, and that has been covered in multiple other videos, and I won't go into that much more. Like I said, this was inspired by that person's purchase. If you go to Great Gurkha Kukri now, you can see it under their special tab. They have different specially designed kukris or swords, and this particular piece is there now, kind of in a refined form after the different orders that have gone through. People have ordered multiple versions of this. There was also another, probably, I believe, a Macedonian maqueta that was commissioned by a gentleman out of Australia, I forget his name, that turned out very well. I encourage you to check them out if you're interested in these types of swords and that time in history. Anyways, let's get to the piece. This is it right here. Has two fullers. One cuts out and terminates short, a little short there where the false edge begin, and you can see where the second one is. There's also kind of like detail fullers around it. Steel bolster, a full profile tang like they're supposed to have. Oftentimes you'll see pieces that aren't done that way. I believe it's rosewood steel rivets. Don't know if that's 100% accurate, but it works. Don't know how much this weighs. I would have made a little bit over 2 pounds. Extremely sharp when I got it. Additionally, overall length is going to be 23.5 inches, approximately. Blade length 17 and 3/4 inches. A blade width out here of 2 inches, 2 5/16 inches. A blade width at the shoulders is 2 7/16 inches, and the center of gravity approximately 3 inches. Pretty handy. Obviously would have been used with some kind of shield, typically, maybe not always. This is kind of hybrid though. This is kind of like a Kopis / Falcata. Falcopis? No. Anyhow, a Kopicata, call it what you will. But that was the inspiration. Overall, very well done, very well executed for traditionally forged, hand-forged piece. Very straight. There's little or no ripples in the surface, just a little bit, from the hammer work. Straight, very straight. Pretty wide back slightly tea-backed because of the fuller, which there were some Greek Kopis that, is that the way you say that? Kopis, that were, had a defined tea-back spine. Falcatas did not. I would say this is probably a little thick for a Falcata. My impression from the ones that have survived, even though they've obviously deteriorated over time, was probably not quite that thick. And they were probably very light, fast weapons. Not that this is heavy. My only disappointment with this piece is the size of the grip. As you can see, for me, that's way, way too long. I would imagine that this curve here should be almost touching my hand, meaning there's little or no room for it to move or slide. But otherwise, executed very well, right? Came with a scabbard, which was something I requested. I had seen one online, and I was like, hey, I want it to look like this than the ones that I had seen offered, which were more along the lines of like what a kukri would come with. The only other thing I noticed about this is over time, the handle scale shrunk. So it created a little bit of an edge along the spine here, and it would catch. So I did some handwork on that to smooth that out and make it a little more flush. Probably need to oil it due to humidity changes that can affect wood and causes it to shrink. This is the scabbard. Nickel silver, I do believe, are what the fittings are made out of. There is a slight punched design on there, as you can see. Fits very nicely. So it's just like that. I would imagine, you know, right here, tight. High on the chest, torso, is my impression, is how they carried these. Zyphos as well, or, you know, Spain, it might have been a little bit different, the way they carried these, but needless to say. Now, interesting characteristic, and this was maybe a misinterpretation on Purna's fault of the picture I sent him, but then going back and looking at it, that's all they are. They're like these studs. So I can imagine it was anchor points for cording to hang this. Or leather. Don't know. But it fits pretty nicely. That's always a plus. I mean, if I shook it, it would probably fall out, which I'm not going to do because it's very sharp, and I don't want to cut myself. I don't think you want to see me cut myself. Maybe you do. I don't know. But very well done. Very satisfied with the purchase. Only took a month, thereabouts, from the time I started the order by email, and then the transfer of payment, which was $385 and some change for shipping. Really quite outstanding, to be quite frank. And now it is, like I believe I stated before, if you go on their website, you will see this sword offered as a regular item. Since they've made so many of them now, they've kind of hammered out, no pun intended, all of the details, and they can make these pretty much regularly. So if you're interested in these, and Purna is very open to, you know, having custom requests when it comes to the making items for customers, which was pretty awesome. And he was very communicative, which, having, you know, difference in language, culture, and distance and time, was pretty awesome. As a comparison, since I mentioned kukri and how similar these are to kukri, I mean, and you can also see the size comparison. I mean, that is a big, big piece for sure. I hope you like this really quick review. Probably not the best, but I like to get these out here, these pieces out here, so people can see them in the hand. So many times 2D images from pictures and whatnot really don't give you an idea of what you're looking at. And that's kind of my main purpose here, is to talk about these, talk about the makers, and just show off what they do and what's available out there. And this particular type of blade is pretty rare to have offerings out there. I believe a company out of Topeka makes this. I believe a Blade Culture International, which is, I believe, Filipino based, they make their interpretation of Kopis Falcata. And then there's this. Deltin has their very long-running Falcata that they make, which is not a profile tang. It's a through tang, and it's peened on the end of a bronze or brass handle that they mount it to. So finding something like this and being able to get a hold of it in a relatively pain-free fashion was pretty awesome. Anyhow, once again, thank you for taking a view at my quick video here. I hope it was somewhat informative, and I hope that if you are thinking about purchasing from them, this helps you with that decision. And once again, thanks for checking out Stark Realities, and we will see you next time.